Hello, Sawadi Kap. I am Atum Ra Raw. Thank you for checking in on this video. For those of you who don't know, I am a raw vegan, Pranic vegan, anything you want to call it like that, Breatharian. And this is how I normally document the journey, and I encourage anybody else to follow along, try along. But today, for today's video, I wanted to discuss, let me move back a little bit. I don't know how long this video is going to be today. Today I wanted to discuss hydration and drinking water on this journey, whether you're raw, regular vegan, or just looking into, hydrating yourself more. To make it plain and simple, your body has energy channels throughout it. We know that. We know the body's made up of something like 70 to 80% water, just like our ocean, because our bodies is basically just a reflection of what our planet is. We all came from the earth. Everything that you see was created from this earth. Every material, no matter whether it's in the form of a processed form or not, it all came from this earth. So that's the same reflection that our bodies are trying to mimic, because we were created here, most of us. So as far as that goes, if you think about it in that light, then think about how the earth works if the earth didn't have any water. And I'm talking about salt water, rivers, all of those things. If the earth didn't have water inside of it or on it, what would that planet be like? Most likely that planet wouldn't be able to sustain life. Okay? So now we're going to make it more understandable from the human experience. Our bodies make up water all the time. And at some point, if you can manage to get your own processes together, like I said, there's breatharians, there's raw vegans, there's all types of people throughout this world that are out here doing these things, then at some point you might not need to be drinking this external water to put it back in to your body. Your body might be able to absorb the water that's always around us through the atmosphere, or just many, many other ways. But for the majority of people are still consuming foods on a regular. And what we need to understand is, I mentioned this in a previous video, you can check it out, on my thought processes on why or how I first transitioned to being vegan was through me eating predominantly soups. So because I looked at my stomach as my gut, my digestive system, as a big cauldron, as a big pot. I'm a Jamaican, so a big stew pot. And I realized that I personally used to enjoy carbohydrates, or bread, specifically bread. I used to love bread. And that's a very dehydrating food, because it's a dry food, you understand? So I would eat breads, and then I'd eat fried food with that, and just assume that my stomach acids would take care of the whole thing. And that's correct and incorrect in the same light, because what I realized is it started to change how the actual process of my digestion went. I'd have a lot more pains. Excuse me, I'll let this truck pass. I'd have a lot more pains when passing stool or using the bathroom, or just discomfort while sleeping, anything like that. And I realized as well that I was losing a lot more energy while eating. We call it itis, and it's like, oh, when you eat something, or you think you eat a heavy meal and that you're supposed to feel tired. You're not supposed to feel tired. Yes, digesting is a very high energy process that our bodies go through, but you're actually not supposed to feel tired after eating. You're supposed to feel more energy. That's the reason we ate. You understand? So if we can understand that, okay, maybe when I digest food, after an hour of eating, I'm not supposed to get sleepy. I'm supposed to feel more energized, almost like if you were on a sugar rush. You understand? So what that is that our body is now taking this water, taking this energy source. If we stop talking about it as just a liquid, and we realize that this is the energy source, there's really only a couple things that they say that we need to survive, and that is water and air, then we'd understand that our body is now taking that energy, because we didn't put any of that energy back into ourselves when we were digesting. It's taking it and it's adding it. It's taking it from somewhere else. Maybe for me, I used to have a lot of cramping. I get a lot of cramping as a ex-athlete, and as well as just moving. Sometimes, especially when I used to drink alcohol, I realized my body would dehydrate a lot quicker, so much quicker. And I used to get cramps in my sleep, and for a long time, I even thought I had carpal tunnel, because when I would wake up in the morning, my hands would lock up like this, and I'd have to literally like pry my hands open, and you just hear my knuckles and everything crack. But that was when I was with alcohol. I've been done with alcohol for 3-4 years now, so that's not a problem. But our digestion is playing a part in that as well. So what I'm trying to ultimately get to is saying that if we're consuming food, any food, whether it's a very liquid-based food like fruits, or something like breads that's more drying, or rice. Oh, rice is a great food. It feeds most of the world, but it can, just like it does in the pot when you're making it, it absorbs water. It is taking a lot more energy, and that's why we have to put that energy back through drinking waters. Now, we can also talk about it from a mucus standpoint and whatnot, that our digestive system is always trying to push these things down or push it out. And just drinking water after eating, or if you've eaten a meal, to make sure that you are getting that 8 cups of water a day, it would help the process, because now the water is breaking up the mucus throughout the body that's appearing from the inflammations of us consuming this food. And then it's helping us have an easier process throughout that whole digestion, you understand? So if we're talking about it again as a cauldron, yes, the stomach acid is already there. And as an alchemist, you'll understand things like sulfur, mercury, and salts in your body. So you'd say, okay, what's the base of this thing? The heavy stuff that we put in our bodies, that's a solid. Okay, the acid is there to break up the solid. Now that the acid is there, we need something that is kind of pHing all of this acid that's in our body to break down a lot of these unreal foods as well that people are putting in. Because 100 years ago, there probably wasn't something so fried as the processors or chips, things of that nature. And so that our body so we don't have so much gas and all of those things, we have to now rebalance how much acid our body has created in order to break this down. You understand? So what I'm saying is, hydration is a necessary thing. It is always necessary to hydrate. But you'll find that as you go through a journey, especially in a breatharian or a pranic vegan journey, that you would need a lot less water, and that the water when you're drinking water, if you're not consuming food, you'll realize that you're going to the bathroom 10 times more, because that your body doesn't need all of that external stuff to come through and cleanse it as usual. So it'll pass out of you a lot quicker. Sometimes I've watched myself drink a full bottle of water. We drink bottles of water like this big. When we do, I'll drink a full bottle of water, and in less than 10 minutes, I'm ready to just pass the whole thing right out. And that's because especially like a day like today, where I'm not consuming anything. I did have a decent meal yesterday, and I tell you, we practice raw, but we practice raw something like 90 to 95% of the time. And yesterday we decided to have something cooked, but I still had soup, so that was a nice thing for me. But every time I do choose to consume, I like to give my body something like a day or to a day and a half to just fully digest that food and fully break it all down and make sure it's all out of my body. So I won't be consuming anything again really until tomorrow. But I am still drinking water, because I know that even if I went to the bathroom or something already for today, that there's still a lot of mucus built up somewhere in my body from this, that there's still other processes that I'm flushing out the food that I ate. You understand? But yeah, I'll eat, or I will see that the water is passing through me so much quicker on days when I don't eat. And that's because my body's like, that's a bit much. We don't need that much. That's a key thing and that's a mantra that I've practiced in my life right now, is you don't need that much. How much food do we actually need inside of us, our system, to say that we're alive every day? because of course scientists are always guessing at everything. That's why they don't call it science fact, they call it theories. But scientists will tell you, oh, you need this amount of protein, this amount of carbs, and this amount of vitamins, and this, and that. But have you ever met anybody who you'd say, oh, that person has a protein deficiency? Like, I'm not gonna say it's not a real thing, but how many of us have really met that? Especially people who have come from places like in the West. I don't want to attack any specific place, but if we're talking about like the standard American diet, personally, I feel like, because I was overweight, or I was obese in a sense, and I personally feel like most of us are something like 90 days away from true starvation, just off of that type of dietary life where most people are coming off of eating something like 3 to 4 meals a day in one day, and snacking in between all of that. And that's not mentioned that when they do drink, it's not water. Most of the time it's things like coffees and juice and more sweetened things and processed sugars. So at what point, for a long life, you can ask yourself this question, because I ask myself this all the time. For a long life, I think in video game terms, how much points do you actually need? Experience points do you actually need to say, this is what a long life of a human being requires in protein, in vitamins, and all of those things? Like, let's say it says you need 100 milligrams total. I don't know the stats, so please bear with me. But let's say to live to 80 years of life, or 90 years of life. Let's say 90, because 80 seems a little short. 90 years of life. In that lifetime, you would have needed to eat something like 1,000 grams of protein. Well, now let's bring it back to, once again, the diets that most people are on. If I needed 1,000 grams of protein in order for my body to say it will keep functioning all the way till 90 years old, there's people who can get 1,000 grams of protein in one meal from what we've eaten in these diets that we live in that are in our society currently. You understand? There's people who are eating huge 1-pound steaks and 2-pound steaks for dinner, and then they wake up in the morning and they'll eat it as a leftover, and then they'll eat something at lunch and they'll eat something at that. At what point does that protein maximum reach? Or is it just something that they say, oh, it resets every day while you're sleeping? Which, of course, that doesn't even make sense, because a lot of people don't even sleep good. So how are you going to say that your body just completely canceled out everything you did the day before through sleep if most people don't even get what they say is the required amount of sleep? Anyway, not to go too long on this video. I normally like to keep it at about the same time frame, but the key message you can take from this is, if you're consuming food of any kind, if your body's going through a digestion, then there's probably some inflammation happening. Just because your organs in your body have to move when you're eating. Anytime you put something in your stomach, if there's nothing in your stomach right now, your stomach is the size of your fist. But as soon as you start to put something in it, it's a balloon, so it's going to start expanding. And that expansion is called inflammation. And it causes other things to happen throughout your body. I'm not going to say it's all a negative thing, because I don't even believe in negative and positives. But it will, this is almost a known thing. I'll never tell you anything's a fact, because I'm just talking. But that inflammation, if you're eating, you need to be using water or hydrating yourself in order to help that pass through your body a lot easier. But when you get to a level where that's not the main thing you're doing, or you're not eating so much, it'll be a lot less necessary to hydrate or drink something, what do they say, 8 cups a day. That's a lot. That really is a lot. And like I said, most people aren't even reaching for the water when they do pick up something to drink. So that's the whole process is what we're going through. But we're going through a lot of evolutions right now. I know the world is changing rapidly, and for peace, to get peace, to find peace, you always have to fight for it. So that's like the oxymoron in that thing. So I know there's a lot of fightings going on and everything, but I want everybody to know, especially if you're watching this video, that means you're working on yourself, or interested in starting working on yourself, that everything is always in its proper alignment. And you're right now just making the steps to get back to yours as well. So I'm Atum Ra. Please like and subscribe and feel free to share it. Find me on Facebook, anything of that nature. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, wishing you pure love, prosperous love, and longevity. All right? Love.